It was a quiet, sunny day in the suburbs. The neighborhood buzzed with the sound of kids playing basketball in driveways and the steady hum of sprinklers. Darren Carter, a tall, muscular man in his mid-30s, was in his garage working out. He pulled himself up on the bar with steady precision, his arms moving like clockwork. After finishing his set, he grabbed a towel and wiped his face, his eyes drifting to a framed photo on the wall. It was a picture of him and his identical twin brother, Damien, smiling in their military uniforms from years ago. Darren chuckled softly to himself. "Time flies," he murmured, tossing the towel aside. "Feels like another life now." Meanwhile, across town, Damien Carter sat at a small cafe, typing away on his laptop. Dressed sharply in a tailored suit, he blended in with the busy downtown crowd. A friendly barista approached him with a steaming cup of coffee. "Here's your black coffee, no sugar," she said with a smile. "Just like always." Damien glanced up and smirked. "Thanks, Tina. You spoil me." He reached for the cup, but his gaze shifted to the window. Across the street, 3 men in leather jackets stood in a tight circle, laughing and glancing around suspiciously. Damien's smile faded, replaced by a brief flicker of tension. He quickly returned to his laptop, his demeanor calm but alert. That evening, Darren went out for his usual run. The neighborhood was eerily quiet, the streetlights casting long shadows. As he jogged, a dark pickup truck slowly rolled past him, its headlights off. Darren's pace slowed, his instincts kicking in. The truck came to a screeching stop, and 4 men jumped out, their faces partially covered by bandanas. One of them held a baseball bat. "Well, well," the leader sneered, stepping forward. "Out for a little jog, huh?" Darren's sharp eyes scanned them, his body language calm but ready. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice even. "Don't play dumb," another man spat. "Guys like you don't belong here." Without warning, the leader swung the bat, aiming for Darren's head. But Darren moved like lightning, sidestepping the attack and grabbing the bat mid-swing. With a firm twist, he disarmed the man and knocked him to the ground in one fluid motion. The other men froze, clearly unnerved. Darren tossed the bat aside, his expression cold. "You've got the wrong guy," he said, his voice low and steady. At the same time, Damien was at home when his phone buzzed. It was a text with a blurry photo of Darren surrounded by the gang, along with a chilling message. Asterisk, "Stay out of our town," asterisk. Damien's jaw clenched as he read the words. Without hesitation, he grabbed his car keys and a duffel bag from under his bed. He called Darren. "You okay?" Damien asked, his voice calm but edged with concern. Darren laughed lightly on the other end. "Yeah, just a misunderstanding." Damien wasn't convinced. "Meet me at the old spot," he said. "It's time to remind these guys who we are." The twins met at an old warehouse on the outskirts of town, a place they used to train when they were younger. Inside, they opened the duffel bag, revealing tactical gear, knives, and other military-grade equipment. Darren pulled on a vest and gave Damien a knowing look. "So much for retirement," he said with a grin. Damien smirked as he adjusted his gloves. "Not tonight," he replied. They stood shoulder to shoulder, their determination clear. As they stepped out into the night, their footsteps echoed in unison, a promise of the storm about to come. The warehouse echoed with the sound of Darren and Damien preparing for what lay ahead. The two moved with practiced precision, their military training coming back as naturally as breathing. Darren slid a knife into his boot holster, glancing at Damien. "You think they're just a bunch of punks, or is there more to this?" Damien, checking the sights on a pistol, shook his head. "Something feels off. They weren't just messing around. They had a plan, and that photo, they knew exactly who to send it to." The brothers exchanged a look. Neither had to say it out loud, but the unspoken understanding passed between them. This wasn't just about scaring them off. Someone was sending a message. Asterisk, asterisk, the ambush, asterisk, asterisk. Later that night, Darren and Damien decided to do some recon. Darren went back to the street where he had been ambushed, while Damien followed a lead on the truck's license plate, which he had memorized during the encounter. Darren walked along the quiet sidewalk, his senses on high alert. He could hear the faint rustle of leaves in the breeze, the occasional bark of a dog in the distance. Suddenly, a noise behind him made him stop. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. Darren didn't turn around immediately. Instead, he moved toward the nearest parked car, using the side mirror to catch a glimpse of the person following him. It was one of the gang members from earlier, trying and failing to blend into the shadows. Darren smirked to himself and kept walking, pretending not to notice. When the footsteps quickened, Darren spun around and grabbed the man by his jacket, slamming him against a nearby wall. "Who sent you?" Darren demanded, his voice calm but deadly. The man stammered, trying to break free, but Darren's grip was iron. "I don't know," the man blurted. "We were just told to scare you off, that's all." "By who?" Darren pressed, his face inches from the man's. The gang member hesitated, and Darren gave him a sharp shove. "Who?" he repeated. "The Brotherhood," the man finally whispered, his voice trembling. "They run things around here. We don't ask questions." Darren's brow furrowed. The Brotherhood? Never heard of them. "You don't want to," the man muttered, looking genuinely terrified now. *** Damien's discovery ***. Meanwhile, Damien had tracked the license plate to an auto repair shop on the outskirts of town. It was late and the place looked closed, but faint light glowed inside. Damien parked a block away and approached on foot, keeping to the shadows. Through a grimy window, he could see two men talking. One of them was holding a folder filled with papers, and the other was pointing at what looked like a map of the neighborhood. Damien pulled out his phone and zoomed in with the camera, snapping photos of the map and the men. As he adjusted his angle, he caught a glimpse of something that made his stomach drop. A photo of Darren and him pinned to a corkboard on the wall. Red strings connected their photo to other images, names and locations, like something out of a crime investigation. Damien's heart pounded. "This isn't random," he muttered to himself. "They've been watching us." Just as he turned to leave, the door creaked open, and one of the men stepped outside, lighting a cigarette. Damien froze, pressing himself against the wall. The man glanced around but didn't seem to notice him. After a moment, he went back inside, muttering something Damien couldn't make out. The Brotherhood's warning ***. When the twins regrouped at the warehouse, Damien showed Darren the photos he had taken. Darren's expression darkened as he studied the map and the connections. "They've been keeping tabs on us," Damien said. "This isn't just some gang. They're organized." Before they could discuss further, the warehouse lights flickered and went out. The brothers instinctively ducked into the shadows, their hands going to their weapons. Footsteps echoed outside, followed by a loud, mocking voice. "Darren, Damien, we know you were in there." The brothers exchanged a glance. "They know our names," Darren whispered. The voice continued. "We've heard all about you, big-shot military boys, thinking you can just waltz into our town and act like you're better than us." A rock smashed through a window, followed by a hiss. Smoke began filling the room. "Time to go," Damien said, pulling a gas mask from his duffel bag and tossing one to Darren. The brothers moved swiftly, using the smoke as cover. Outside, they could see several figures lurking, armed with bats and chains. Darren spotted a stack of old metal pipes nearby and nodded at Damien. "Make some noise." Damien grabbed one of the pipes and slammed it against the ground, the loud clang echoing through the area. The gang members turned toward the sound, just as Darren charged out from the opposite direction. He took out the first man with a clean strike to the gut, followed by a sharp uppercut that sent him sprawling. Damien joined the fray, his movements precise and efficient. The two worked seamlessly together, covering each other's blind spots. Within minutes, the gang was either unconscious or running for their lives. After the fight, Darren noticed something sticking out of one of the gang members' pockets. A folded piece of paper. He opened it to reveal a list of names and addresses, including theirs. At the top of the list was a single word. Asterisk targets asterisk. What the hell is this? Darren muttered, showing it to Damien. Damien scanned the list, his expression grim. This isn't just about us, he said. These are other families, other people they're targeting. The realization hit them both at the same time. This wasn't about a grudge or a neighborhood dispute. The Brotherhood was running something far bigger and far darker than they had imagined. As they stood in the moonlight surrounded by the aftermath of the fight, Darren looked at Damien. We can't let this go. Damien nodded, his jaw set. No, we're shutting this down. The warehouse was silent except for the faint rustling of papers in Darren's hand. The list of names stared back at them, each address and name a potential victim. The word asterisk targets asterisks scrawled at the top made Darren's stomach twist. Damien's face was set in stone as he grabbed the paper. This isn't just about us, he said quietly. They're going after people. Families. This is planned. Darren leaned against a metal beam, his arms crossed. We need to find out what they want and stop them before this gets worse. Damien nodded, his mind already racing. That map I saw at the shop. It wasn't just our neighborhood. They've got the entire city mapped out. There are marks in different areas. This is bigger than a gang. Darren frowned. What am I talking about? A network. A movement. Damien shook his head. I don't know yet. But if they're organized enough to track us and other families, there's someone calling the shots. Someone higher up. Asterisk asterisk. The trap is set asterisk asterisk. Determined to gather more information, the twins decided to return to the auto repair shop that Damien had scouted. This time, they were going in together. Under the cover of darkness, they parked several blocks away and approached on foot. The shop was still lit from within, the faint sound of voices carrying through the night air. Darren scanned the perimeter, while Damien disabled the back door's lock with practiced ease. They slipped inside, moving silently through the dimly lit hallways. The sound of muffled voices grew louder as they approached the main office. Through a crack in the door, they saw 3 men sitting around a table, reviewing documents and photos. On the table was something that caught Damien's eye, a map of the city with red circles and notes scribbled across it. Darren motioned for Damien to stay back as he crept closer to listen. One of the men, a burly figure with a thick beard, slammed his fist on the table. They're not supposed to fight back. They're supposed to leave. That's the plan. Another man, leaner and younger, replied, We weren't expecting these two. Military background. Makes sense why they're tougher than the others. The third man, who seemed to be in charge, leaned forward. It doesn't matter. They're on the list, just like everyone else. We push them out, or take them out. The boss made it clear. No loose ends. Darren's jaw tightened as he listened. He glanced back at Damien and nodded. They had heard enough. But as Darren turned to leave, his boot scuffed against the edge of a metal cabinet, making a sharp noise. The men in the office froze. What was that? The leader barked. Go, Darren whispered to Damien, shoving him toward the exit. Asterisk asterisk. The chase asterisk asterisk. The twins bolted through the narrow hallways, their footsteps echoing off the concrete walls. Behind them, the men shouted and gave chase. Darren and Damien split up, weaving through the shop's labyrinthine layout. Darren ducked into a storage room and quickly locked the door behind him. He could hear the men outside, their footsteps closing in. He scanned the room and spotted a ventilation shaft. Without hesitation, he climbed onto a workbench and pried the grate open. Meanwhile, Damien found himself in the garage area, where rows of cars sat in various states of repair. He crouched behind a car as 2 men entered, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Spread out, one of them said. Damien's eyes darted around the room. He spotted a wrench on the floor and quietly picked it up. As one of the men passed by, Damien lunged, striking him in the back of the head. The man crumpled to the ground with a groan. The other man spun around, but before he could react, Damien had already closed the distance, knocking him out with a swift punch. The twins regrouped outside, their breathing heavy. Darren held up a folder he had grabbed during his escape. "Found this in their office," he said, flipping through the papers. Inside were more detailed plans, addresses, schedules, and coded messages. But what caught their attention was a name that appeared repeatedly. Ezekiel Ken *. "Who's Ezekiel Kane?" Darren asked, frowning. Damien's expression darkened. "I've heard that name before, back when we were stationed overseas. He was involved in some black market arms deals. Dangerous guy. If he's behind this, it's not just about scaring people. He's building something." Darren scanned the documents again. One page listed shipments of equipment, including weapons and surveillance gear. Another page outlined plans to expand their operations to nearby towns. "This isn't a gang," Darren said grimly. "It's a militia." The warning ***. As they were about to leave, Darren's phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. The message read, "You're in over your heads. Walk away, or you'll end up like the others ***. Attached was a photo of their childhood home. The place they had grown up, now abandoned, but still a symbol of their roots. Damien stared at the screen, his jaw tightening. "They're not just threatening us. They're trying to break us." Darren slipped the phone into his pocket. "Too late for that. They just made this personal." Raising the stakes ***. The twins knew they couldn't go to the authorities. This operation was too big, too well connected. They needed to take it down from the inside. Their next move was clear: find Ezekiel Kane and stop him before more lives were destroyed. But as they drove away from the shop, a black SUV pulled out of the shadows and began to follow them. Darren glanced in the rearview mirror, his expression tense. "Looks like we've got company." Damien loaded his weapon, his voice steady. "Let's see how far they're willing to go." The screen fades to black as the SUV's headlights glare into the camera, signaling the beginning of an even more dangerous phase of their mission. The black SUV's headlights bore down on Darren and Damien as they sped through the quiet streets. Darren gripped the steering wheel tightly, his eyes scanning for an escape route. "They're not letting up," he muttered. In the passenger seat, Damien loaded a second clip into his handgun. "They want us boxed in," he said, glancing back at the pursuing vehicle. Another set of headlights appeared in a side mirror, another SUV joining the chase. Darren gritted his teeth. Guess they didn't like us poking around their shop. As the two SUVs flanked their car, Damien spotted an alleyway up ahead. "There!" he shouted. Darren veered sharply, tires screeching as he cut into the narrow passage. The SUVs tried to follow but hesitated, giving the twins a brief window to put distance between themselves and their pursuers. ***, a place to regroup ***. The twins eventually abandoned their car in an old industrial area, slipping into the shadows to avoid detection. They'd found refuge in an empty shipping container, their breathing heavy from the escape. Darren leaned against the cold metal wall, running a hand through his hair. "They're not messing around. This is bigger than we thought." Damien nodded, pulling out the documents they had stolen earlier. "We're dealing with something more organized than just some local thugs. This is a full-blown operation." As they sifted through the papers, they came across a surprising piece of information. A name they recognized. Marcus Hall, a retired intelligence officer who had worked with them during their military days, was listed as a contact for one of the Brotherhood's safe houses. Darren frowned. "Marcus? That doesn't make sense. He wouldn't be part of this." Tegan's expression darkened. "Maybe he's not who we thought he was, or maybe he's been compromised." Confronting an ally ***. The next day, the twins tracked Marcus down to a remote cabin outside the city. They approached cautiously, their weapons drawn. As they neared the cabin, Marcus stepped out onto the porch, holding a cup of coffee. He looked older than they remembered, his hair streaked with grey, but his eyes were sharp as ever. Well, Marcus said with a smirk. "Didn't expect to see you two here." Darren lowered his weapon slightly, We need answers, Marcus. What's your connection to the Brotherhood? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Brotherhood. I don't know what you're talking about. Damien stepped forward, holding up the papers with Marcus's name on them. Don't lie to us. Your name is all over their files. You're tied to their operations. Marcus sighed, setting his coffee cup down. You've got it wrong. I've been working undercover, trying to dismantle their network from the inside. Darren and Damien exchanged skeptical glances. If that's true, Darren said, why didn't you come to us sooner? Marcus hesitated, his gaze shifting. Because it's dangerous. The Brotherhood has eyes everywhere. One wrong move and they'll take me out, or worse, use me to get to you. The twins weren't convinced, but Marcus's words carried enough weight to make them pause. If you're telling the truth, Damien said, prove it. Help us take them down. Marcus nodded slowly. I can get you information, but you need to be careful. The Brotherhood isn't just a gang. They've got politicians, law enforcement, and even military contractors in their pocket. This goes deeper than you think. Asterisk, asterisk, a temporary victory, asterisk, asterisk. With Marcus's help, the twins located one of the Brotherhood's supply depots. A warehouse stocked with weapons and surveillance equipment. The plan was simple: sabotage the operation and send a message to the Brotherhood. Darren and Damien moved like ghosts through the warehouse, planting explosives and disabling security cameras. As they worked, they uncovered more evidence of the Brotherhood's plans: blueprints for armored vehicles, lists of potential recruits, and encrypted communications. Before leaving, Damien rigged the warehouse's power supply to overload, ensuring that the building would be reduced to rubble. As the twins slipped away, the first explosion ripped through the night, followed by a series of deafening blasts. Watching from a safe distance, Darren allowed himself a small smile. That'll slow them down. But Damien's expression remained grim. For now, but they'll retaliate. Asterisk, asterisk, the betrayal, asterisk, asterisk. Their victory was short-lived. That night, Marcus called them, his voice tense. We've got a problem. Someone inside the Brotherhood knows about you too. They're coming after you hard. Before the twins could respond, the line went dead. The next day, the twins received another text, this time with a photo of Marcus tied to a chair, bloodied but alive. The message read, asterisk, you trusted the wrong man. Now you'll pay, asterisk. Darren's jaw clenched. They got to him. Damien shook his head, pacing. Or he was playing us the whole time. Either way, we need to act fast. Asterisk, asterisk, rising danger, asterisk, asterisk. Desperate to uncover the truth, the twins tracked the location of Marcus's firm to an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. They moved cautiously, their weapons drawn. Inside, they found Marcus, barely conscious but alive. He lifted his head as they approached, his voice weak. It's a trap, he managed to croak. Before they could react, the factory lights flickered on, and a dozen armed men emerged from the shadows surrounding them. The leader of the group stepped forward, a tall man with piercing eyes and an air of authority. Darren, Damien, welcome to the Brotherhood, he said with a cold smile. The twins exchanged a glance, their muscles tensed. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they weren't going down without a fight. The factory was dead silent except for the faint hum of fluorescent lights above. Darren and Damien stood back to back, their weapons raised, scanning the ring of armed men surrounding them. Marcus slumped in the chair, his head hanging low, blood dripping from a cut on his temple. The leader stepped forward, his boots echoing on the concrete floor. His sharp eyes bored into the twins, a smirk playing on his lips. You've caused quite a mess, haven't you? Blowing up my warehouse, meddling in my operations, but this ends here. Darren tilted his head, his voice calm despite the tension. You must be Ezekiel Kane. Nice to finally meet you. Kane chuckled, his hands clasped behind his back. You've got guts. I'll give you that. But you don't understand what you're up against. This isn't some neighborhood gang. This is a movement, a revolution. We're tearing down the old worlds to build a new one. Damien scoffed, his grip tightening on his weapon. Yeah? And what's your new world look like? Corruption, violence, and fear. Kane's smirk faded, replaced by a steely glare. You don't get it. You're relics of a broken system. You don't belong in the future we're building. Asterisk, asterisk, the fight breaks out, asterisk, asterisk. Kane nodded toward his men, and they moved in, their weapons raised. The twins reacted instantly, their military training kicking in. Darren fired first, dropping one of the men before diving behind a stack of crates. Damien followed suit, taking out another assailant as he slid into cover. The factory erupted into chaos. Bullets ricocheted off metal beams, and the air filled with the acrid smell of gunpowder. Darren and Damien moved with precision, covering each other's blind spots as they advanced through the room. Damien, left! Darren shouted, and Damien spun, taking down a man who had crept too close. From his hiding spot, Kane watched with growing frustration. Idiots, he muttered. Do I have to do everything myself? He pulled a pistol from his holster and stepped into the fray. Asterisk, asterisk, a dangerous game of cat and mouse, asterisk, asterisk. The fight turned into a deadly game of cat and mouse as the twins and Kane's men maneuvered through the factory's maze of machinery and crates. Darren caught sight of Kane, who fired a shot in his direction before disappearing behind a pillar. Kane's mine, Darren said through gritted teeth. Damien nodded. Go. I'll handle the rest. As Darren pursued Kane, Damien stayed behind to deal with the remaining men. He ducked under a conveyor belt, popping up to fire at two enemies who were closing in. His movements were swift and deliberate, his focus unwavering. Darren, meanwhile, followed Kane deeper into the factory. He could hear the man's footsteps echoing ahead, taunting him. Running won't save you, Kane, Darren shouted. Kane's voice echoed back, calm and mocking. Who said I'm running? I'm just leading you to the grand final. Asterisk, asterisk, the final confrontation, asterisk, asterisk. Darren emerged into a large open space, the factory's central chamber. Kane stood in the center, a smirk on his face and a detonator in his hand. Around them, crates of explosives were stacked high, their markings indicating their deadly contents. Let me guess, Darren said, his weapon trained on Kane. You blow this place and take us all out. Kane chuckled. Not quite. Just you. This operation will continue without me. But you're the thorn in my side that needs removing. Darren's eyes flicked to the detonator. You think you're a martyr, don't you? But all I see is a coward hiding behind threats. Kane's smirk faltered, anger flashing in his eyes. You don't know what I've sacrificed for this, what I've built. You've built nothing, Darren said, stepping closer. You destroy. That's all you know. Kane raised his weapon, his finger tightening on the trigger. Darren didn't hesitate. In a blur of motion, he fired, hitting Kane in the shoulder. The detonator clattered to the ground as Kane stumbled back, clutching his wound. Asterisk, asterisk, Damien's desperate fight, asterisk, asterisk. Meanwhile, Damien faced the last of Kane's men. Sweat dripped down his face as he took cover behind a forklift, bullets pinging off the metal around him. He leaned out, firing two precise shots that neutralized the final threats. Breathing heavily, Damien scanned the room. The silence was deafening. Asterisk, asterisk, the decision, asterisk, asterisk. Back in the central chamber, Darren stood over Kane. It was slumped against a crate, blood seeping through his shirt. Kane laughed weakly, his voice dripping with defiance. Kill me if you want. It won't change anything. The Brotherhood will rise. You can't stop progress. Darren hesitated, his weapon aimed at Kane's head. For a moment, he considered pulling the trigger. But then Damien appeared, his footsteps echoing as he entered the room. Darren, Damien said, his voice steady but firm. Don't do it. Darren glanced at his brother, then back at Kane. He doesn't deserve to walk away from this. And we don't deserve to carry that weight, Damien replied. We take him in. Let him face justice. After a tense moment, Darren lowered his weapon. You're lucky my brother has a conscience, he muttered. Damien cuffed Kane with a pair of zip ties they had brought, securing him to a metal beam. "The cops will love hearing about your revolution," he said coldly. Asterisk, asterisk, a shocking twist, asterisk, asterisk. As the twins prepared to leave, a faint beeping sound caught their attention. Darren turned to see a small device strapped to one of the explosive crates, an active timer counting down from 60 seconds. Kane laughed, blood on his teeth. "You think you've won? You'll die with me." "Damien, go," Darren shouted, rushing to the timer. Damien hesitated. "I'm not leaving you." "That's no time," Darren barked. Reluctantly, Damien ran toward the exit, shouting over his shoulder, "You better make it out, Darren." Darren stared at the timer, his hands trembling as he worked to disable it. With just seconds left, he managed to cut the wire, the beeping stopping abruptly. A heavy silence filled the room. Darren exhaled deeply, grabbing Kane by the collar and driving him toward the exit. Asterisk, asterisk, the aftermath, asterisk, asterisk. Outside, Damien paced anxiously until Darren emerged from the factory, dragging Kane behind him. Relief washed over Damien as he rushed to help. "You cut it close," Damien said, shaking his head. Darren smirked faintly. "You doubted me." The twins handed Kane over to the authorities, along with the evidence they had gathered. As the sun rose, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink, the twins stood side by side, their bond stronger than ever. "This isn't over," Damien said quietly. "No," Darren agreed, "but it's a start." The camera pans out, showing the smoldering factory in the distance as the brothers walk away, ready to face whatever comes next. The sun cast its golden rays over the industrial district as Darren and Damien leaned against their car, watching the last of the law enforcement vehicles pull away from the scene. The factory, now an empty shell, stood as a stark reminder of the night's events. Damien glanced at Darren, his face a mixture of relief and exhaustion. "Kane's in custody, but he's not the type to go down quietly. You know he's going to spill all kinds of lies." Darren nodded, his arms crossed over his chest. "Doesn't matter. The evidence we've handed over speaks louder than anything he can say. The Brotherhood's operation is crippled. For now." Asterisk, asterisk, loose ends, asterisk, asterisk. A detective approached the twins, a stern but respectful expression on her face. Detective Elena Torres had been one of the few honest officers willing to go after the Brotherhood. "You did good tonight," she said, her voice steady. "We've been trying to make a dent in the network for years, and you two just handed us enough to dismantle half their operations." Darren nodded. "Glad we could help. But there's more out there. Politicians, military contractors, people with deep pockets funding this thing. Taking Kane down is just the tip of the iceberg." Torres sighed, rubbing her temple. "You're not wrong. But this gives us leverage. With Kane in custody, we can force some of those names into the light." Damien stepped forward. "Just make sure Kane doesn't get a chance to slither out of this. He's dangerous, even behind bars." Torres met his gaze. "We'll do our best. But you two might want to lay low for a while. You've made some powerful enemies tonight." Asterisk, asterisk, reflection, and healing, asterisk, asterisk. Later, back at their apartment, the twins sat in silence, the weight of the night pressing down on them. The room was dimly lit, the faint hum of the city filtering through the windows. Damien broke the silence, his voice heavy. "You know this isn't over, right? Kane's arrest will make waves, but it'll also make us targets." Darren leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. "I know, but we faced worse. We can handle whatever comes next." Damien frowned, his tone quieter now. "You scared me tonight, Darren, when you told me to run. I thought that was it, that I'd lose you." Darren looked at his brother, a rare softness in his eyes. "You won't lose me. Not now, not ever. We've been through too much to let these guys take us down." Damien nodded, but the unspoken fears lingered between them. Asterisk, asterisk, a haunting discovery, asterisk, asterisk. The next morning, The twins sifted through the evidence they had retrieved from the warehouse. Among the documents was a list of names, many of which they didn't recognize. But one name stood out. Admiral Jonathan Reeves. Darren's brow furrowed as he stared at the name. Reeves was one of our commanding officers back in the day. A straight shooter. What's he doing on this list? Damien shook his head, his jaw tightening. Maybe he's not as clean as we thought. Or maybe he's being blackmailed. Darren sighed, setting the paper down. Either way, this complicates things. If Reeves is involved, this goes higher than we imagined. The twins exchanged a look, unspoken determination passing between them. A week later, Marcus Hall stood before a grand jury, his testimony crucial in exposing the Brotherhood's network. Though bruised and battered, his resolve was unshaken. Outside the courthouse, Darren and Damien watched from a distance. You think he'll tell the truth? Damien asked. Darren nodded slowly. He's got no reason to lie now. The Brotherhood turned on him, and we gave him a way out. This is his chance to make things right. As Marcus stepped out of the courthouse, reporters swarmed him, shouting questions. But his eyes found the twins, and he gave them a subtle nod of gratitude before being whisked away by security. ****, a message from the shadows ****. That night, the twins returned to their apartment to find an envelope slid under the door. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a chilling message. You've won this battle, but the war is far from over. Watch your backs. The Brotherhood ***. Darren crumpled the paper, his jaw clenched. They're already regrouping. Damien sighed, leaning against the wall. Let them come. We'll be ready. A new mission ***. Determined to strike before the Brotherhood could regain its footing, the twins began piecing together the information they had gathered. Their investigation led them to an offshore account linked to several high-profile donors, including Admiral Reeves. We take this to Torres? Damien asked. Darren shook his head. Not yet. This is too big to trust anyone else. We need solid proof before we make our move. Their next mission was clear. Expose the corruption at the heart of the Brotherhood and bring its leaders to justice, no matter the cost. A quiet moment ***. As they prepared for their next steps, the twins took a rare moment to reflect. Sitting on the balcony of their apartment, they watched the city lights twinkle below. You ever think about what life would be like if we hadn't joined the military? Damien asked, his tone contemplative. Darren chuckled. You mean if we had normal jobs and a 9-to-5 routine? Can't picture it. Damien smiled faintly. Yeah, me neither. Sometimes I wonder if we'll ever get to stop fighting, if we'll ever find peace. Darren's expression softened. Maybe one day, but for now, we do what we're good at. We protect people, and we stick together. Damien nodded, their unbreakable bond stronger than ever. The seeds of a sequel ***. The final scene shifts to a shadowy figure sitting in an opulent office, watching footage of the twins' escapades on a large screen. The figure's face is obscured, but their voice is smooth and chilling. Impressive, the figure says, tapping their fingers on the desk. They're better than I expected. But everyone has a weakness. The camera pans to a folder on the desk, labeled with the twins' names. Beneath the label is a photograph of a woman, someone from their past. Let's see how they handle this, the figure murmurs, a sinister smile playing on their lips. As the screen fades to black, the haunting sound of a ticking clock fills the air, signaling that the twins' fight is far from over. Would you like adjustments or additional details for any part of the resolution?